Weren't ready. He didn't share everything. You know he has all the receipts. All hardcore moments he has prepared you for is finally here. After his iconic lectures, Age of Deception, Rising Through the Darkness, Purgatory, What's Next 2020 to name some, his Hypergate prophecy schools. The Leo King, the heretic of our time in the astrology world, delivers what he really thinks. He never sold out. He never was afraid to give you truth. Now is time for those that can really handle the deepest truth. What the Leo King really thinks. He who doesn't understand should either learn or be silent.
Welcome to your inspirational astrology horoscope for this really intense new moon in Leo here on this weekend. I am here at my house since the High Vibe Studios are going to be moving this month on August I'm covering it for the 3rd, 4th, 5th of 2024. And of course, I'm your astrologer, David Palmer, the Leo King, here to illuminate the collective consciousness. Hope everybody's doing wonderful out there. It's been a minute since I've been coming out here more in social media world. I'm usually on High Vibe, even like right now. Not having my studio up normally is really a different thing, but we'll make it through. I'm excited to do this horoscope though, because I know a lot of people out there are really needing the Leo King to give some assessments here. Whether I've been seeing the Lionsgate's post already coming, and it's a leap year, and they will never be able to describe that. So whenever you see anybody with the Lionsgate post, remember to literally show them that they're cuckoo. But at the same token, there's a lot going on in the world. But what's going on in your life? That's what I like to focus on most. And this is not just a typical new moon. This one's coming with a new moon, a Venus yod, a Venus then ingressing into Virgo, where it's at fall, and then Mercury stationing at the same time, and then stationing retrograde just right after Venus ingresses into Virgo. At the same token, we're going to have Mars on the star Aldebaran. Uranus is still on top of the star Algol, and Venus will be conjunct the star Regulus. So that's 3 planets on these fixed stars. And we all saw what happened when Jupiter was on Aldebaran. That was on July 13th through the 15th. It was pretty wild, right? Now we've got Mars, the planet of war, and Aldebaran is a planet, a fixed star about war. Jupiter, well, we're going to go into the charts. I just wanted to say I know there's a lot going on. Now, it is a Leo new moon. If you were ever to call a Lionsgate, it's the new moon. It's not some fake calendar system that, by the way, we're in a leap year. So, of course, 8/8 last year and 8/8 this year are going to have the sun at different degrees. So anybody saying it's a Lionsgate already isn't using astrology, period. Two, it is a lot happening just from a transit perspective, and seeing Mercury stationed in its home sign of Virgo. We're going to see it stationed retrograde. Venus is also going to be, as I'm speaking right now, right before this new moon happens, we're seeing Venus cross where it stationed retrograde last year, and when it came back over the same spot was October 7th of last year. Also, this is Venus now making its full turnaround since the retrograde, and so it was also the first Venus retrograde in all of our lives to station retrograde in Leo. So this is finally a full 360, and it's going to pop up many things over what we're going to be seeing for the rest of our lives, Venus retrograde in Leo. And to see these planets all on the fixed stars at the same time is beyond auspicious. It is rather extreme fate, but it also plays out the parts of astrology that I think a lot of people maybe miss, right? Conjunctionalist astrology, whether it's with planets or with fixed stars, are a very significant part of the history of astrology. And this is going to play itself out. Very extreme. How do you find the love through all this and the happiness? And, well, I mean, a lot of it with this North Node in Aries with Chiron is to love yourself and realize you're not perfect, and the way that you saw your life, the world, it's taking you into places that you have to find that the information's different than your ego thought. I'm loving that we have Jupiter, even though it's in detriment, in Gemini, and we'll talk about the Sessi quadrant all the way to Pluto on this new moon as well. We have to remember that, this is definitely a time for us to get new information instead of be weirded out that life will never look like the way that we forecasted it as children or as in our teens or when we were looking out at the world and what we thought it would look like. It's Uranus also in Taurus still. And, we're at the degrees. Remember, back in World War II, Algol was back a couple degrees. So it's not like Uranus and Algol are always at 26, right? But it is interesting to see, the degrees for just where Uranus is right now is where World War II really kicked off hard. So I think it's going to be very important, this horoscope. And to be honest with you, with all I have going on and everything, I mean, I'm a Lightworker first. I could have just put out a new moon horoscope and got with life, but even my life is going through extremes right now that are making me have to make some extreme moves. So, it's important, I think, for all of us to pay attention that this is not normal. So I think that's going to be an important thing to accept first, is that this is not a normal time. You can't treat this new moon the same as any other because we just had 2 full moons in Capricorn. So the last new moon was in Cancer, and this new moon is trying to regain the luminaries, cycle into its, let's call it normal pattern, right? To have 2 full moons that were prior to this in the same sign, and especially in Capricorn, where Pluto is less than a month now away from retrograding back into. This new moon is really trying to restore some sort of getting back into the rhythm, and it doesn't get that with Mercury stationing retrograde and Venus in a yod. And especially yod, it's going to start yachting right here where the position was, where Venus did retrograde for the first time in Leo in our lives last year, and where October 7th happened when it came back. And then back in 2015, Jupiter-Venus made their conjunction here when it was a Jupiter retrograde, Venus retrograde year in Leo. That was the one prior. At 28, they made their conjunction. There's been the solar eclipse that happened, of course, in 2017 in Leo. That was at 28 degrees. We saw a new moon pretty close to this degree at 12 degrees Leo back in 2016. And you can use that 8-year cycles with Venus in very auspicious ways and see that it was Mercury that was in Virgo and Venus that was coming from Leo into Virgo, right? So it's really weird how, it's not weird, it's actually divine, but we also have Saturn and Neptune retrograde. So let's take a look at this because it's definitely not normal, to say the least, right? So this new moon happening at 4:13 a.m. Pacific on the 4th Sunday. So depending on where you are in the world, most people were getting it on Sunday, but it's happening right here at 12 degrees of, Leo. And then, of course, it's not going to show. Hold on one sec. Yeah, I've got this whole thing set up for this, way for me to... let's see if I can do this. Well, that sucks. It's one of those days you can't really actually, you know what? I might find a way to use my PC right here. NDI is a very beautiful thing. Hold on one second here. Oh, man. Yeah, give me a second. This is a very extreme Mercury retrograde that's about to happen in Virgo. It's going to feel like grinding. You're going to have to watch irritation. If you're sensitive to your food or stuff like that, stop worrying about it. The worry about the food, the worry about all the little things are going to be your biggest nightmare. So I wouldn't recommend it. Let's do screen capture. We want to do studio monitor and screen capture. We'll just do a basic screen capture. There we go. We'll do a studio monitor here. Let's see if this will work. This might work. Let's pray. Hold on. Yeah, no, that's not going to work either. Hold on a sec. Oh, man. That's fine. I don't want to open that. Don't. And it's just right there. Oh, yeah. No, of course. It won't separate screens. It's so stupid. We live in a really stupid world, by the way, where there's just so many stupid things happening 24/7. I just don't even know what to do anymore. I'm just like, well, most of the world doesn't care. Even companies are just like, will people even really do those kind of crazy things with their computers? No, they won't. So we're not going to distinguish it. But watch this. I think I will fix this crop. Let's crop this. Here we go. This should work. There we go. Okay. Let's see. This should work. Are we golden? We're golden. There we go. That new moon Leo at 12 degrees and Venus here at 29:13. So it was at 28.5 degrees. We saw that Venus retrograde last year, and then it came back over in October 7th, and we know what happened on that day. So we have Mercury that's stationing here at 4 degrees of Virgo, And it's really interesting because this new moon in Leo is pretty well aspected. It doesn't have to really deal with any of the more harder aspects, especially since we just are dealing with Uranus and Taurus in the fixed energy. So, and Pluto and Aquarius, which already we saw the opposition with the sun with. What's interesting, though, it is Jupiter that's in good aspect to this new moon. So being optimistic and being in the right state of mind, but also being smart. Like if you're sitting in a country right now or sitting in a place and they're telling you to leave, I'd leave, right? You're going to have to be smart. Like your heart's just going to have to be like, what's the logical, smart thing to do here, right? So, and you're going to have to use that logic a little bit more than usual with Mercury that stopped here and about to retrograde in Virgo, right? So remember that anything smooth right now, especially if you want schedule wise, time wise, it's going to be anything but that, period. And you're going to have to be smiling through it all, right? And I think that's actually kind of a hard thing to do. Venus here about to conjunct that fixed star Regulus. Of course, we see Uranus already on top of Algol, and then of course there is Mars at 9:57 going to click to 10:07 right there where Aldebaran is. Boy, you can't ask for much more. Shit's about to happen. Especially if you take it from a basic standpoint, it's a new moon. And this new moon, it's like, let's go. Unfortunately, though, Mercury's saying, no, 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 no. And with Jupiter and Mars being disposited by Mercury and in Mercury's home, it's like this energy that Mars is looking at Jupiter like, I've got all these things that I got to do. And Mercury retrogrades and be like, well, I see a lot of holes in your story that you're putting in your mind here. But it's that courage that we're going to have to find to keep us moving forward and realizing it's going to be gritty, right? Like it's going to be a little bit gritty. It's going to be also not losing your cool because Mars and Jupiter are getting closer. So if we are to take a look at the sheets here and we do look at some stuff, it's like, wow, I've been thinking about this one a lot. We are seeing, of course, Mercury stationing. I have it set for 24 hours here on Astro Gold. And, you know, this new moon has a pause moment in it, and we're going to be reflecting on what did happen over the last, I'm going to say month and a half instead of the traditional month. Because that new moon, the prior one was in Cancer, and there was that full moon on Pluto that was at the last degree of Capricorn, where Pluto is going to retrograde back to station this year. And of course, then there was that beginning full moon on the solstice. So really, since the solstice to now, what has all come up for you? And a lot of things have been trying to get jammed in over the last couple of weeks after Mars Uranus met. Mercury has been in that square to Uranus. Venus just squared Uranus. Then, of course, there's been this slight, it's been on the, it happened a minute ago, but it's like still there is that Mercury square Mars energy that, of course, is separated, but it's like there is this kind of, it reminds me of just trying to push a rock through something and then not having the tool that you need and trying to use that instead. And instead of just taking the time, and sometimes you have to drive the hour to go get the tool or whatever you have to do in your life, instead of just sitting there and smashing it with a rock and trying to push things too hard. And I think this also puts to light the yod very intensely. Of course, to me, I'm a big person. I've always used yods. I love them because they are a moment in our life. And I'm calling this one subconscious stilts, because this Venus in quincunx to Neptune here at the last degree of Pisces in its home sign, Pluto at 0. So it's an approaching quincunx, but it's pretty much in orb here. I'm a tight orb person with this stuff. So, we're within a degree in 3 minutes of the sextile of Pluto-Neptune. this is when it comes to this beautiful world and these beautiful things, or the beautiful idea of what we think relationships should look like and all that stuff. It's more of this realistic look we're going to have to do. And the subconscious energy is, you can't keep looking back at the past and trying to make something look better than it was. And Pluto in Aquarius is telling us that all these different approach angles that we're having to take in life and also experience, they might be shocking, or they might be really allowing us this moment to go, all right, I don't need to constantly, when it comes to my needs, all the things I want to create, have to have all these crazy things happen in order for it to happen. Like right now we could be frazzled, like, well, in order for that to happen, this would need to happen, then that, then that, then that, then that. It's like, no, maybe not. Maybe things are a lot simpler. And I think that's the good part of Mercury that's going to station retrograde in Virgo here. So let's actually go back here and let's actually go to the Venus ingress into Virgo right after this new moon. Right, so we're going to see Venus ingress to 0 Virgo here. And that's right after about 14 hours, right? Yeah, okay. So we're going to see Venus actually conjunct the fixed star Regulus, which always was in Leo until 2012. But that's going to be a moment here, Sunday, 7:22 p.m. Pacific, where this new moon, and then we are just so close. I'll show you the Mercury retrograde that comes right after that, to station retrograde. It's happening, and actually, I'm just like looking at where I live at that time. It's gonna be weird that Mercury stationing where the vertex will be at that moment. But Mars is going to be on top of Aldebaran, Uranus on top of Algol. I mean, this is pretty interesting. Also, I've been telling people on High Vibe every day and every week with all the horoscopes I do every day. The last couple of weeks has also been Fortuna on top of Chiron and with this Eris right here. And like this has been this really weird things landing into our laps and learning to accept it instead of wanting it to look a different way. Like we're going to have to accept the doorways that are happening for us, that they're going to get us to the right place, and we're going to have to be happy about life instead of like nothing's going to look the way you want it to look. Your ego is getting crushed right now the more that you're trying to listen to that part of yourself. Plus this Saturn is on its way retrograde backwards as Jupiter is moving forward. So the Jupiter square Saturn already becomes within 3 degrees of orb. Jupiter makes its sesquiquadrate to Pluto right here. And to me, this is very extreme because this is a moment now to where if you just take everything I've already said, Black Moon Lilith on the South Node, this is a moment that's going to be a shifty moment for the world. That's going to be a hard shift without a clutch. That's another good way I would describe it. No gear oil, no lubrication, and like having to take it with a smile. And courage is going to be the name of the game now. Mars on top of Aldebaran. Wittiness, being smart, doing the moves without hesitation because it's smarter to make the move now than it is to not. Hesitation with that South Node Libra is definitely a bad thing. I think it's just hard though because the Chiron and Aries, if you're trying to take the action just to make yourself look better or feel better instead of actually what is the best move to make for you and for the new version of you, like you can drop all the things that the universe is trying to get out of your life right now. It's a huge ego death, and this is the courage of realizing that the heart is trying to move through the ego catastrophe. especially that ego and the identification of the world and how we want things to look and how the world should look, and even globalization's having its horrendous effect on the planet, on others. It's the real problem, right? And people are going to wake themselves out of it through this clutch moment here. That's going to be, the clutch is not going to work. And you're going to have to hard shift into gear here. And it's going to be grindy. Now, Mercury stations retrograde. So here it is at 1922 on the West Coast Sunday. And then 2.5 hours later, Mercury stations retrograde at 4 degrees. And we're going to see that Mercury retrograde and make its ingress back into Leo. But there's that Venus in a yod, and that's really interesting. You can see that yod a lot better. But that Mercury retrograde is going to retrograde over Venus in the coming days after this new moon. This new moon's still going to be going on, and then we've got that Venus that's going to be at least done with that, Uranus square. But I'm looking more at Mars and Jupiter. I'm more looking at this Saturn, Neptune in Pisces that are both retrograde. So we are way past any more break moments. The preparation should have already been going on in your life for massive events that are going to crush even the collective's ideas of what it's going to look like. And we're all going to have to step up. So this is really I think the moment a true light worker has its calling. Meaning you came here to go through it, not let it get you down. It's going to be grindy. And not, freak out. It's going to feel like a lot of work. But to keep people realizing the power within themselves. This also is about people learning to become smarter by following their heart more. And to also go on this quest, this Mars-Jupiter. I like it. I'm a little worried about it, though, because instead of, to me, this Pluto in Aquarius in this Ceci quadrant to me is why worry what other people are doing? Why keep tracking? Well, how do they do this? How do they put out info? How do they do things? Find your own awesome smartness, your own way, your own message, your own way to do things. You don't need to get validation from anybody. You don't need to try and chase validation. I also have warned, and I said that social media is going to be the worst place we will see for getting your actual info out and all that stuff once this happens. That one of my big predictions here is that whether they come after you for stuff, you're going to have to know and be smart where to speak your truth. And remember that there's lots of people with lettuce out there. They're going to want to be throwing lettuce. There's also the reminder that Pluto is coming back into Capricorn in less than a month. And so, we've all been being watched. All the systems have not been taken down that are the dark ones, right? The dark systems. And they are operating in full force in front of our face right now. Selling you on that Pluto Aquarian thing. Oh yeah, that's going to be so good. We need to think about the collective when they don't think about the collective. If you think about the collective, you let the collective be their own individual free self and express themselves. Instead of, telling everybody, which gender they need to like more and which race is better and all this kind of crazy shit. We got to remember that whenever Pluto makes its ingress to a new sign, there's always this, whoever the person that, it was Obama, right, in 2008. I even fell for it. I didn't do anything except cause all the problems that are still on right now. So, right, Pluto always comes in and it tries to sell you. And so if you're buying the whole, oh my God, Kamala Harris, that's the dark. Pluto, when it ingresses into a new sign, always puts up this Marvel superhero that you think will save the day when you already know they're not going to be. It's like, well, they don't actually. What did they actually do? Like, what did Obama do before he became president? Nothing. Don't fall for this one. And if you are, look at how dumb you are. You're going to fall for it again, the whole Pluto at the beginning of a sign and retrograding. The difference, remember, about this whole new moon, because the next new moon in Virgo is going to be when Pluto's back in Capricorn. So this is the last new moon before we go back to the old world. And I know we feel like we've made a timeline shift, but we are the whole, you know what's happening on this new moon? God's going, everyone come back. Blah. And so you're going to have to find that your happiness are in the things that are not based off trying to impress people. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction that's getting ready for some pretty gnarly things next year, and it's already starting to happen now, right? Like trying to find heretics and it's been 500 years since we've seen these two planets in Pisces together. This is going to get really ugly fast. People clinging on to their sensitivities. And also being manipulated extremely and propagated extremely. And with Pluto coming back into Capricorn, and that new moon that's going to be a month from now is going to be with Pluto back in Capricorn and the eclipse season about to begin, because we're going to have a lunar eclipse in Pisces that will be conjunct Neptune. And so this Venus yod is reminding us to get real. That anything that looks like it's just gliding and not taking shit serious and is putting on more of like character assassination energy, right? Like, oh, like I don't like the way that your character is. Like that's hiding more of something else, right? There's a lot of energy out there within yourself that is not here to be so scared about what other people really think. And also to start to get real, that the shit that's happening is real. Saturn, Neptune are starting to reveal the mask, and what the real mask is of the world, besides the people who were dumb enough to wear one for all these years and actually thinks it does anything and fell for that propaganda. The real mask, though, is beyond just like, oh, the people who wear masks on TV. That's happening. And deep fake AI masks. The real mask is this like false world that's not showing you all the systems collapsing. And so this is what you need to pay more attention to, right? Just look at the world right now. It's fine. Everything's fine. Watch the Olympics. But around the Olympics in all these countries all around, no, they're not sending all these warships. Oh, yeah, they are sending all these warships out there. Who's really in charge? Probably not anybody that we think at all, and nobody really that strong or powerful. It's more like this is about learning how to really start to navigate your life and be smart and know that Pluto in Aquarius is about crazy skies to unpredictable events, right? Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. It rules skies. I predicted this weekend over a week ago there'd be a hurricane this weekend. Guess what's happening? I also predicted that, and we'll see if it does come true, that a very gnarly attack's going to happen with this Venus, Yod, new moon, Mars on all these, Mars, Venus, and Uranus on fixed stars. It's time for people to wake up. This is the grind, and if people don't wake up on this grind, there is no more wake up except through extremes, and that's a month from now. And this Mercury retrograde will be part of it. And there is something with Neptune and Saturn and Pisces, like, are we going to replay the past individually? So don't even think about trying to do what you've done before in your past. But collectively, are we really going to let the same patterns happen again? You know? And whether you like it or not, Pluto's coming back into Virgo, and it's going to be all about politics. Or sorry, into Capricorn, it's going to be all about politics. No matter how much you don't want to deal with it, you're not going to be able to escape it. And Pluto's really going to be like, well, who really wants to understand like what's going on? And Neptune at the end of Pisces too is about these divisions and who's on the right side and who's on the wrong side spiritually. I'm not going to answer that one for you, but I think it's pretty clear. You can be upset about people that say words, or you can be upset about people who actually really do fucking dark shit physically to people and actually segregate people, want to take things away from people, take rights away from people, censor people, or even try to kill people. I'm going to finish with that. When Neptune was here back in the election of 1860, the DNC split. What we don't know at this moment right now, what's being hidden. Because if I just want, let's just have a real talk for 1 sec. Are you really into astrology or an astrologer and believe that it's going to go good launching a presidential campaign on this Mercury retrograde with Venus and Virgo, with a DNC that was private and hidden and rigged technically, because it really was rigged, like they weren't allowed to put up any other person? This is what happened in 1860 by the same party. And I'm going to say something that's controversial just because I'm going to use the history. If you were back in 1860 at the time and you were in the South, you didn't want slavery taken away. You thought it was morally okay. You actually thought that it was God who made it morally okay to take slaves and make them part of your life in the South because you were given a better life to make their life better. That's actually what Robert E. Lee wrote into his journals. That's what Jefferson Davis wrote. That's what a lot of the Southern Democrats wrote about. That was their right. That's why they also tried to go to the past, and instead of using the United States Constitution, they actually declared their segregation and created the Confederate States of America from the Articles of Confederation, which was the first prequel of government that we had before big debates about a U.S. Constitution and federalism and so forth. So we're now at a place, and this is where it is, and I don't care. I'm all about freedom of choice. Okay? But the whole election is based off, you're taking my right to abort a baby away. Now, I'm not somebody trying to fight for either side on this one. For real. I could really, I'm more focused on my own life and family and high vibe and all that shit. But just as an astrologer, because you try to see the things, right, that connect with the astrology. And that's what I do best. If anybody does that best, you could say that I got the receipts for that shit. So it's like, huh. And ironically, it was the Dred Scott case, right? That was the big Supreme Court case at the same Neptune degree last year of like the Roe versus Wade decision, right? So it was about a Supreme Court decision. And then now you're dealing with number one, though, it's one of those weird spaces where it's like, okay, yeah, the power's back to the states. Now, what I don't see is Republicans aren't trying to do a national ban, right? You might try and say that, but they're actually saying they're not going to do that. Whereas, like, Joe Biden said he wouldn't try and pack the court, and look what he just did. Like, he's trying to make an amendment change to the Constitution, trying to get rid of immunity. So whoever becomes president, if they declare war and the troops go kill people, I guess they go to jail. Also, if you read the Federalist and you actually look at the original U.S. Constitution, which they don't put on the internet, you have to buy an old one or go to Washington, D.C. yourself and go to the National Archives and then go to the library. You can do that too. But there are things in there that can't be changed after 1800 was the last year that they gave the first Congress and the Congresses that followed after the Constitutional Convention and after Washington became the first president inaugurated. That was done in New York. That you have these like 9 years, you have these 10 years to figure these kind of things out. And then after that, these things that are at the basis of this can't be changed. So the Bill of Rights, the First Amendments, the way that the structures of the three branches work, you can't change those. So it's like really weird to see this lie going out there. Or even the lie always that they're going to take your guns. That's impossible. You can't take it out. You can't take away the First Amendment. But when I see a side that wants to restrict your voice, that's trying to fight for another moral cause that has an immoral connection to it, dealing with a body of a soul that's trying to just come here, that has no choice. Okay, I'm trying to keep this really like PG. That the way you can tell with Neptune and Pisces at 29 degree and what this yacht is doing and what you're seeing and all this shit. And then again, it was about race, right? And what's the side that's making it all about race again? The Democrats. It's scary. Because a lot of people have fallen for this spell again. And it was 1.8% of the South had slaves. Yet the millions that fought in that war for the South didn't even own one, but fought for Jefferson Davis and Robert E. Lee. It was some of the bloodiest battles of all history. And the healing of Reconstruction turned into a Democrat Ku Klux Klan, and now you have white dudes for Harris, and that's okay. I guess doing the Ku Klux Klan again is a cool thing. I'm just using the history. And I'm not telling you who to vote for or what to do. And there's a lot of other issues out there. But the ones that are coming up the most, astrologically and historically, are those. So it should be pretty clear to see who's on the side that's gone cuckoo again. And I had predicted that they would do a swap at the DNC of the president in 2020 for 2024, and that's what just happened. And that's what they did in 1860, because Buchanan didn't end up running, and then Breckinridge was VP prior, and they put him up for the Southern Democrats. And that connects to the Southern Democrats, not the Northern ones. The Copperhead Democrats, the ones that just wanted peace, but didn't want things to really change. So, I already did a special people can watch here I did with Dr. Ann Wilkie last week about how this Pluto ingress back into Aquarius, and really this is not about the election. This will be about the inauguration, meaning something's happening with this election that's going to affect the inauguration. But that it will be a Pluto Libra that will come into office. It's going to get wild. And this is going to be where the grinding of the gears start to really get loud. The nails on the chalkboard start to get louder for you to wake up. Whatever that might be for you. And be on the side that you know you're not doing harm to others. And when I mean harm, we're talking like harm. And, you know, Uranus at these degrees, especially right now in Algol, the dark, is really about Marxism. Socialism. That's what World War II was, this huge fight about. And even back then it was weird. It was a right-wing authoritarian socialist party. Now it's the first time in history we've ever seen a left-wing one. A left-wing authoritarian militarized that want women to fight in draft of the wars, right? So, there's a bill on the floor in the Senate by Rand Paul, who just, with other Democrats actually, so it's bipartisan, about ending the draft. And I think everybody should get on the phone and make phone calls to make sure that their senator, and especially the Democrats, allow that vote to happen. Do you think the Democrats will? They won't. And that should be your signal right there. And in Rand Paul doing that, he exposed that for the 2025 fiscal year that the Democrats have in there for women to be part of the new draft, that they've done a new draft, right? That they need to vote on that last part, but they've introduced it. So, you ask me who's really doing the creepy shit right now. It's connected with the exact same moment. Because this is personal in your life. This affects people you know. And that's going to be the hard part about Pluto and Aquarius, is one of the deeper secrets, because we all will have to learn for the next 20 years the deep secret of Aquarius is. But But the secret I can tell you from history is it moves all the people you thought you knew in places that you don't want them to go. Pluto is all about where you want people to stay and be emotionally connected with, and Aquarius breaks that apart. And Pluto also doesn't get what it always wants in order to really fire it up, right? So there is, especially the emotions. So the world is about to distribute people into places that we all don't want them to go. And can we stop that? Or are we going to follow the unknown weird person that is being fake pixie dust out there with all these agendas that have crippled us and crippled the idea of old real astrologers for the Republic of ancient times that they've all tried to get back? It's all on yourself. Sad to see what happened to JFK in 63. Looks like they tried that shit again. The astrology was perfect too. It wasn't fake. That's the other thing, is everything you're seeing now, the only things that are fake are the things that look too good. Meaning, look too nice. Look too polished. I appreciate you all. Oh, let's pull a card. I've been kind of in a weird spot, of course. I'm moving the studios that I've had for the last 7 years. It's 13,000 square feet full of shit. Everybody on High Vibe knows this, but out there in my YouTube audience and social media world, I'm moving at the end of the month. I'm liquidating like 90% of all the stuff there. So I'll be putting it up on the web if people want to buy stuff you've seen. And I'm getting a new office and slimming down, and spend 6 months in a temporary like space and then building a new studio. And just moving on to the next place that High Vibe has to go. But I've also been in a space where, my chart's being hit. I'm 0 Leo. I'm getting smacked. I'm born with Pluto Neptune at 29 Sag and 29 Libra. And so Pluto's squaring my Pluto, Neptune's squaring my Neptune. I'm the first soul, and any others that are born in that weird moment of 84 that have Neptune square Neptune and Pluto square Pluto at the same time. And I'm the only one that could have Pluto opposite Sun at the same time. And my progressed moon, because I just turned 40, has been in opposition, and I'm about to have that move into Sag in a week. I have Uranus about to station on my moon in Taurus. I haven't wanted to be out talking because I feel that I don't think the world really wants to hear from me anymore. I get under people's skin too much. And you know what? That's cool. I've had to learn this lesson with Pluto and Aquarius that's fine. There's other people out there. So that's why you're just not going to see as much from me. Unless you're on High Vibe, where I know, okay, you definitely want to come and see the work that I do, and you're not going to judge how I do it, because I'm not trying to do this for some sort of like personal like ego gain. I'm doing it because I really fucking care, and these are really sensitive subjects, and we're in a world where the sensitive people rule the world right now. And it's an extroverted world now, and the extroverts are being fucking casted out. And I have the courage to keep doing it, but I'm also at the same time like, not one astrologer, not one, responded to the video Robert Phoenix and I did. We now for sure have a full astrology community that is corrupt. We have now a full astrology community that doesn't want to engage in conversations, that have made horrible predictions that have not come true, that continuously push the narrative of what they see on TV. And they think they can just ignore the situation. Well, for all those ones that will watch this, because they will, when Pluto comes back into Aquarius in November, and by December with that Mars retrograde in Leo in opposition to Pluto, you better fucking know who's going to fucking make sure that you will never get away with it for the rest of your life ever again. That I have been in the background, my 12th house, you will pray to a God. I hope you find God. Because I have everything to expose everything all you motherfuckers did. You all were dumb. I've got all the receipts. I have screenshotted, took all the videos. You all are going to be exposed. Unless you guys want to talk publicly. I will make sure that you will never have an astrology career ever again. All of you. And I don't care if I know you as a friend. Not like if you were a high viber or anybody like that. We're talking about like this fucking weak ass, fucking woke ass astrology community. You will never get away with it. Because you're weak and you're pathetic. Unless you really have the courage to talk and let people make their judgments. Are you going to actually do that? No, you're pussy. You're pussy. So you won't have your little things anymore. People won't ever go again after I'm done. And I was here first. Queen of Cups reversed. It's uncomfortable out there to say the least, but I do like that we got this 10 of Pentacles. I think that this is a moment for us to remember we got to get uncomfortable to get comfortable now. We got to find where's the solid place in life and stay on that work. Because right now, if you're just looking for the easy road, the comfortable road, the safe road, that doesn't get to build the beautiful place that we all need to find. Because right now we need to find that place that's not comfortable. It's that place that actually gets us to where we can make a difference in the world and we can start to have some real shit happen instead of all this crazy shit that constantly keeps happening. Because unfortunately, whether it's the astrology community or it's people falling for all this crazy shit and ready to just hand everything over to literally giving away everything of our lives and all of our freedom and giving away fucking craziness and radical fucking crazy ideas that don't work through these transits. They actually fucking ruin the world and cause people to die. We've already seen 3.5 to almost 4 years now of people fucking dying over crazy fucking bullshit lies, right? Stay secure in what you're doing, not what feels safe. I appreciate you all. I'll see you on High Vibe. And for those that I spoke to spiritually out there that are weak, you don't have much time before I come back with a vengeance.
7 years of predictions The Leo King warned you, he prepared you. Now, he is ready for those that can handle what is really next. There are many predictions he held back, and more to tell of what is coming. It was too deep for many. Predictions he blew all your minds with. With all the shocking revelations, you wouldn't believe the ones he still has kept inside. You weren't ready. He didn't share everything. You know he has all the receipts. All hardcore moments he has prepared you for is finally here. After his iconic lectures, Age of Deception, Rising Through the Darkness, Purgatory, What's Next 2020 to name some, his Hypergate prophecy schools. The Leo King, the heretic of our time in the astrology world, delivers what he really thinks. He never sold out. He never was afraid to give you truth. Now is time for those that can really handle the deepest truth. What the Leo King really thinks